So speaking of which, so Lee, when we went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine last Saturday, San Diego Comic Con was in full swing, and one of the one of the big news obviously is Kevin Feige and Hall H making his announcements for the next for the next phase in the MCU, which isn't really new because he's been doing that for 10 plus years. But we did get some new developments. We did finally get to meet the cast of the Fantastic Four, and they started shooting this week in England. But we also got something that was very new and a bit unexpected. And we talked.
I think I know what you're getting at.
So let me go ahead and just get this out of the way first. So first and foremost, can
nice
I
ad block, Luca?
Yeah, so can I just say can I just say first of all, this came out of left field. This came out of left field for me because I first of all I went to go take a brief nap because we did enjoy some pretty high quality Vietnamese food after the movie. But when I woke up from my nap, I looked at my feed and I happened to see this video here, and I was a bit confused. And at first I thought this has got to be a joke, and I emailed you a link to the video. But then I came to realize, they aren't trolling us. This is actually a thing. So let's take a look and see what we've got here.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
About a Marvel shocker heard across the multiverse.
So
new mask, same task.
So no, right?
5 years
So
Robert Downey Jr.'s iconic superhero Iron Man met his end in Avengers Endgame. The Oscar winner will don a different mask to play the ultimate bad guy, Dr. Doom, in the next 2 Avengers films.
What can I tell you? I like playing complicated characters.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this decision at all. I don't really get it.
I don't get it. Are you a baddie now?
Oh, well, I guess thank you, Gwyneth Paltrow, for echoing what I was just saying.
Mystery. And the flying Fantastic Car at Comic-Con's Hall H helped to welcome the cast of the super hyped Fantastic.
Oh, here's a girl, Lee. Here's a girl.
To be able to share any of this with
the
world.
Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss-Bachrach blown away by the enthusiasm.
Hey, you know what's ironic? We were just talking about the bear earlier, right? Remember we were talking about the bear?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Kind of throwing down the gauntlet. It's a nice sort of challenge.
Totally unexpected connection there, but there we go.
Best time ever.
82 years old and not slowing down a bit. Harrison Ford kept it real, revealing why he joined the upcoming Captain America Brave New World.
You may be Captain America.
All right, so
you're not Steve Rogers.
So we discussed this briefly before recording, but do you feel this is a move of desperation on Marvel's part to bring back RDJ?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this now. Now, this is nothing against RDJ, right? I think obviously he's gone through some really highs and lows in his life, and I think his casting for Iron Man was just incredible, right? I think he plays that character so well. I feel like people throw around like, hey, I couldn't imagine another actor playing this, character X as good as they do. And I feel like people throw that around really, really loosely. But for me, the way that Robert Downey Jr. plays Iron Man, to me, is the one that I always feel like it's hard to envision anybody else playing that character.
I mean, he was pretty much playing himself, if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I think that's why he has such a high level of comfortability with it, is because, it's easy to carry that persona into your acting when you don't have to do a whole lot of acting for it. But yeah, I think that I just really enjoyed the character. I think it was, a really great performance. And I think people were obviously bummed that he gave up his life to save everybody, right? I think that definitely was a hard send-off for people to accept. So to see him in this role feels very forced. I think that it's a very cheap way to just inject Robert Downey Jr. back into the universe. I know that there might be some, comic book leanings where there's, the whole Doctor Doom and Iron Man and they having some connection. I'm sure there's some comic book at some universe that's been done over the past, century that's a part of that. But I think regardless of what you kind of throw out there, it just feels very forced to have him playing that character. It just, to me, just feels wrong to have it be like that. And it feels 100% that they made that choice because people like Iron Man. So now, we can't, maybe we'll bring back Iron Man somehow, or maybe we'll just bring back RDJ and he'll just be like Iron Man, but we'll just have him be Doctor Doom instead. So I didn't really like it. I thought it was a very forced choice. I think that there was a lot of different things out there. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it. It just feels like cheap way to bring back a character that we've already seen before.
But I mean, if you think about it, at the beginning of what was it, Phase 4, Phase 5, they were basically saying, well, the first part of of the saga was Thanos, right? It was all about Thanos and in the Infinity Stones and assembling them and trying to wipe out the universe. So they pretty much said, well, the next villain for the next few phases is going to be Kang the Conqueror, and it all started with Loki, where they kind of laid the foundations with, the next baddie is going to be Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror. And they ran with that for a few movies and TV shows up until, what was it, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they were pretty much saying, yeah, he's going to be the next film that the Avengers will have to face. So when Jonathan Majors got into a legal kerfuffle over domestic violence dispute, and he was dismissed by Marvel, I kind of got the sense that they were still going to stick with Kang because he was he was marketed as the level, as the villain who's sort of on the level or beyond the level of Thanos. Like, who's worse than Thanos? Well, someone who can control and manipulate time, which would be Kang, right? So I thought, well, they're probably going to have to look at getting another actor. They would still keep all of the storylines that they built in Loki and all the other movies and TV shows, but just go with a different actor, but still keep the same villain. So so going back to my point from earlier, when they announced RDJ as Doctor Doom and he would be the villain of the next 2 Avengers movies, this came as a huge shock because because then it calls into question, well, what the hell were all the other movies about then? Because if you think about it, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania really didn't add much, apart from the fact that you learned a little bit more about who the Kang the Conqueror was, and you kind of get the hint that his next mission is to enter the sacred timeline and wipe out that universe's Avengers, because he's already wiped out Avengers in other universes, right? So so now that you introduced Doctor Doom into the equation, and he's supposedly going to be the new baddie who replaces Kang, it kind of makes you wonder, well, what was the purpose of Loki and all that other stuff then, right?
Yeah, because no, continuity wise, I think everything's kind of scrambled at this stage.
It's in the shitter basically, because now you've got nothing. I mean, sure, you've got the multiverse, but the multiverse itself got really old, and we've mentioned this time and time again. I mean, we've talked about this when we reviewed The Flash, when we reviewed Secret Invasion, all that stuff. I mean, we've said time and time again, the multiverse is it's such an easy an easy thing to play with, but it's also easy to mess things up. So so now Marvel is finding itself up shit creek without a paddle, because they built up a villain who is no longer going to be the villain because of personal issues, and they've talked up a multiverse which really isn't going anywhere, right? Because like we mentioned a few minutes ago about Deadpool, I mean, they had the opportunity to take all of these disparate elements from different franchises and different studios and bring them together under one banner, but they failed. So now you've got to ask yourself, well, if they're going to continue with the multiverse, they've got to do something new with it, because what they've been doing for the past 5 years now, it's it's not going anywhere. It's going around in circles. And the villain who was supposed to be the big baddie who would represent a threat to the multiverse, he's not a threat to you anymore because apparently he's subject to the laws of man. So now you've got to bring in a new villain, and furthermore, you've got to bring in an actor who, let's face it, I don't think may be able to pull off being Doctor Doom unless they decide to make Doctor Doom very, very much like Tony Stark.
True. And you brought up a great point, right? Like, we're dealing so much with multiverses and everything. Like, if you really wanted to have Kang, I don't know why you just don't recast him. Like, I think it's so easy just to write off, like, oh, why do you look different? Oh, something.
Because he's a variant.
Yeah, like I'm from a different universe.
Because they've already done this in Loki. It's not hard, dude.
Yeah, and I think another thing that kind of got to me, right, and I think as you're talking about a great point about this is, we bring up Kang for his power, right, his ability to manipulate time. So he's got these abilities. The problem that I have, right, is when I look at Doctor Doom, I don't see him being nearly as powerful as either of these previous, villains, right? So
Doom is a human being. Granted, he's smart, but he is probably like 10 rungs below Thanos. He's 10 rungs below Magneto, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Not everything is going to always be like, you can't always blow up everything because it feels like there's never good enough stakes at a certain stage. So, like, I understand that. But yeah, it's really weird that you went with this mindset that you want Kang, who's going to be this, very strong, Thanos level type of supervillain, and then you replace him with Doctor Doom, who is clearly not in the same sphere of power that we've seen previously. So, curious to see what they want to do with that.
But here's my issue: it's the fact that they kept talking up Kang as if he were supposed to be the next, next big baddie. So it's on Marvel. So it's on Marvel because they're the ones who kept saying over and over again, "Oh yeah, Kang's going to be the next villain. He's going to be the next baddie. He's going to be the next threat that the Avengers will need to take 2 movies to defeat, like Thanos." But then they do this, and it's like, well, clearly this is a reflection of what's going on behind the scenes because. Because now it's showing, Marvel is just they show their hand basically, right? Like had they not done that reveal at Comic-Con, we could have gone on thinking, oh, they've got something, something up their sleeve. We don't know what it is, but we're willing to wait a few years to be surprised, at movie theaters. But now that they've showed their hand, it's like, well, you've been bluffing this entire time, dude. You've pretty much sold us. You sold us on a Mustang, right? And we end up with a Honda Odyssey. Sorry, I was just looking for a way to incorporate that joke in there.
Very topical. I like that.
But you get my point because this entire time they kept saying, well, this is what we're selling you guys. If you watch episodes this and this of this show, and if you pay attention to the post-credit scene of these movies, you'll see where we're going at here. And then to throw this, from left field, it's like, this is bait and switch, dude. This is worse than bait and switch. This is an act of desperation. This is a Hail Mary pass on your end, and it's not going to go well for you because as much as we love RDJ, the guy can play pretty interesting characters. We did a review of Oppenheimer where we talked about how he played, he did a really good job playing Strauss.
Yes.
But playing a skeezy senator is not really a good prerequisite to playing, the leader of a country with the resources to, possibly take over the world,
Yeah, they did a lot of course correction here, and it'll be interesting how they try to, I guess, retcon / insert this into the current stream of stuff that they have out there, because they definitely went with a very, very different direction with, I think, overall, I don't want to call him like a weaker villain, because I never liked Kang as far as the villains go. So I was very indifferent to him anyways.
Yeah,
and I'm sure a lot of people also reiterated that they weren't huge fans of Kang. So I think in Marvel's mind, right, it's like, well, people didn't really like him. We have the whole thing with Jonathan Majors that's going to be an issue. So, I think for them, they're like, oh, well, we'll bring back Doctor Doom, right? Like, we have to get the Fantastic Four involved. And, well, who we want to play him? Well, everyone liked that Iron Man guy. So I guess we'll just throw his character in there. So, but yeah, it does feel very cheap, and I totally agree with you that they have clearly gone a different direction, and now they have to figure out how they're going to, I guess, play up Doctor Doom to make him be a character that people want to be invested with. So we'll see what happens. But, I think when it comes to the Avengers and everything, I think it's just its name will draw enough people in, but how good of a quality film we'll be getting leads much to the imagination at this stage.
Well, I was going to say to your point about Kang, how nobody really cares about Kang. It just made me think this is the most expensive group survey ever. Like they have literally spent like close to billions of dollars just to survey people and say, oh, what do you think about Kang? It's like, I don't really care about him as a villain. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, well, congratulations, Marvel. You have flushed billions of dollars.
Yes, they
tried to get us to love a villain that nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it definitely. I think in hindsight, there's a lot of people kicking a lot of people's asses right now because I think it was not well received. I think think about just an Ant-Man where he gets defeated by one character, right? So it's really hard to really get that invested when you kind of have what we've been shown so far. So, but yeah, I know that, but that's the state of Marvel, right? We've talked about to death that they've gone, they've been dropping quality left and right, and it's just been getting worse and worse. I think this is their really kind of last-ditch effort to totally try to change things around. So I guess we'll see what happens in the news and whenever they start putting some release dates on some of these films.
Well, they said the next two Avengers movies are supposed to come out in 2 years, so I guess we'll keep our ear to the pavement and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to be too negative because we did see the cast for the Fantastic Four, and we did a review recently of Hobbs and Shaw, and we both agreed that Vanessa Kirby did a phenomenal job in that movie. In spite of all of the BS that was going on. I kind of feel like the Fantastic Four would be pretty decent. Now, mind you, it is going to be a period piece, so it is set in the 1960s. But I am curious to see what's going to happen there. Do you have any quick thoughts on that?
I mean, it can't be any worse than the first two. So,
or
the first two, like in the continuity, right? Because obviously the first one had 2 or 3. I don't even remember. Right? I remember the Silver Surfer.
Yeah. So.
And then you have Fan Forstick.
Because the first 2 had Jessica Alba in it, and then Fan Forstick was basically the movie everybody wanted to forget.
Okay. Yep. It can't be any worse than those because, the first one didn't care that much about. Silver Surfer didn't care a whole lot about. Fan Forstick was just bad, flat out bad.
It makes you wonder why you have eyes.
Bar is painfully low right now for the Fantastic Four, so hopefully this ends up being good because they really need it to be good, especially if they want Doctor Doom to be the next big baddie to carry to put Marvel movies on their back again.
But I also get the feeling too that whenever the next 2 Avengers movies comes out, it's not gonna have the same magic that the Avengers of the 2010s had. Like it's just not gonna be there. It's gonna be it's kind of gonna be like you're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
Really. All right, well, that's going to do it for our review of Deadpool and Wolverine and our reaction to RDJ returning as Dr. Doom. Let us know down in the comments below what you think. Are you excited to see Robert Downey Jr. coming back and playing Dr. Doom, or are you just scratching your head and asking yourself, what the hell am I looking at here? And let us know, also know in the comments down below what you think of Deadpool and Wolverine. Are you mad at us for spoiling the movie? Because if you are, just go and see the movie already. It's out in theaters. It's not that hard. And if you agree with our talking points, or if you have a favorite cameo, let us know down in the comments below. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.